am trying to run and grow and scale this business for 10 or 15 years. So to me, I was pretty comfortable getting in the game. And yeah, so we bought it like $2.5-ish million of revenue and about $1 million of cash flow. So I looked at it.
He cash flow to owner on a 2.5 million was 1 million.
Yeah, so it was doing about 40%.
That's crazy.
40% cash flow margins.
Bananas.
As the poster boy of Carbon,
Ackerman's claim to fame is...
I'm the poster boy for Carbon. When Carbon needs to close a deal with a bigger firm, they call me in to sell it. And what do I tell them when these firms talk with me? I'm like, we couldn't live without Carbon. It saves us so much time.
Because Carbon is the collaborative practice management platform for accounting firms. It brings your team, clients, systems, and data together in one place, significantly improving visibility, efficiency, connectivity, no matter where your people are located. See, the thing about this is I have the power to really talk about the ad because I love the product. They're the backbone of our firm. If you look at Carbon's logo,
they're the heart of the house.
Not the heart. No, Practice Ignition is the heart. Carbon is the skeleton of our firm. If you look at their logo, it's black with white on
What's
top.
What's the dick?
It looks like a skeleton. What's the dick? You are the dick of the firm. Carbon is the backbone. It's like, I don't know.
Dude,
you could talk to my operation. I don't know. Like, this is an explicit ad, but honestly, Carbon fits that though. They have their logo looks like explicit content. Parental advisory. Like when you look at that black and white and you see that black and white color scheme, you think Carbon. Do I love branding? Their branding is the best branding. And then if they throw in a little bit of pink like pop in there, that would take it over the edge. Like Carbon is
Look,
Killer Carbon.
Listen, I'm the poster boy. Carbon. Call me the closer at Carbon.
The closer.
I close deals.
The closer at Carbon.
Now, do I get any money for that?
Closer
no.
with a K.
But when I go to San Francisco, they take me out to dinner. So in a way, I'm getting paid. Always be closing.
Getting paid, baby. And we got paid to read this. Getting paid by Carbon.
Yeah.
Carbon
HQ.com.
Thank you, everybody.
That's beautiful.
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? I repeat, may I have your attention, please?
This is a public service announcement brought to you in part
by Accounting High.
The views and events expressed here are
of the next generation of accounting and tech professionals leading this space.
The events and suggestions are not to be taken lightly. Children should not partake in the listening
of this podcast.
So without further ado, introducing the star of our show,
Scott and Nikole.
Anything else?
Yeah, don't do drugs.
We're gonna have a problem here.
Hey guys. Today we have Chris Williams, CEO of System 6. And Chris has a really interesting background. He didn't start in accounting. He actually bought an outsourced accounting firm. So I am very excited to ask Chris a lot of questions. And Chris, I am one to, if I cross any lines in the questions I ask, feel free to decline to answer. I'll just say that. I'll start by saying that. Because
I'm excited.
I like to get into the nitty gritty.
She's coming in hot. I'm getting nervous.
I'm excited. Yeah, we had somebody decline yesterday. But let's do it. He's cool to talk.
I'll try to shoot straight with you. I won't lie. I won't lie.
You can just decline to answer if you want to.
Yeah. No, he's going to answer the shit like a CEO, not like an accountant would.
Just very political, skirt around the answer, say a lot of words, but not a lot of substance.
So this is your second. You're in your media circuit right now, Christopher. Tell us a little bit about your week so far. Give us a shout out to the other podcast you were on.
So I was on Drink While You Think on Friday afternoon, and the funny thing is, I was telling Scott before this, I didn't tell Kenji this. I had a hard stop because I was wrapping up the podcast to go pick up my engagement ring to then go get engaged this weekend. So Kenji was my last moment before heading off into a new, really exciting time in life. I was actually ironically planning to do it this upcoming weekend, and then I realized ahead of a 3-day weekend was perfect timing to have a little more time to celebrate. And also we were going to spend a day with her sister and brother-in-law, and they have a little 1-year-old, and it was just like, oh man, wouldn't it be fun if we could celebrate And I pulled off the surprise, which was the most important thing.
Yeah, tell us about it. Where'd you do it? How'd you do it?
So I actually did it on a golf course because I was trying to figure out a good way to get her to a beautiful like outdoor piece of land, but our lives are pretty busy. So like we don't do a ton of hiking or beach walks, which I know is ironic because I live in Marin and it's a beautiful place in the country. But basically that was the only way to do it without it being excruciatingly obvious. And then the funniest thing was my brother was hiding in the trees to be the photographer, and she saw him.
Cool.
So
No.
the cover got blown. But no.
What
and
did
then
she think when she saw him in the trees?
she was like, "Oh, is Nick playing golf too? Like, I didn't know he was here."
He's going pee.
Yeah, exactly. So then I was like, "Oh, I guess we're doing it right now." But it wasn't that big of a cover blow because that was the place I was trying to do it. Yeah. So then took some photos, and then we went down and spent the night and the day in Half Moon Bay, and like stopped at the beach on the way down there, which is beautiful part of Bay Area. It's not Central California.
I have played Half Moon Bay. That's so fucking crazy. I've
Yeah.
only been to San Francisco once in my life, and that's where I
You played golf there?
There's
Yeah,
two
so-
courses.
Yeah,
Which
so
one?
we didn't play, no. So I did it at a golf course in the Bay Area and then drove down there, stayed the night there in like fancy hotels. Nice
Yeah.
for a
Oh,
night.
did you go to the
nice for a
Ritz?
night. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. There is a wedding. There's a 3-day wedding going on there. So we got to see some of the pomp and circumstance around that, and kind of be a distant observer. And Half Moon Bay is
How
awesome.
appropriate.
We like biked into town the next day, like hit up there's some cool breweries in town. So we had a good day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And she said yes.
She said yes, totally.
Congratulations.
Chris has
Yeah.
got a lot of big moves in this past year, right? Like I guess this is going to segue into you bought a business.
Yep.
You're getting married.
So yeah, I guess it's been a pretty big 8 months or 12 months.
That defines a paradigm shift if I've ever seen one, right? Your viewpoint and your perspective on things has changed.
Yeah. And I honestly, I didn't fully, like we've been dating for 5 years and living together. So, our day-to-day life doesn't change a ton, but the mental shift is real. It's like, yeah, we're now committed to each other. We've got a wedding to look forward to. So yeah,
it's like
all exciting stuff.
Business ownership versus being an employee.
Yeah.
Even if you own a percentage of a business, you feel more connected to it. So owning it, that's the big shift. And now owning your relationship, right?
Yeah.
'Cause now it's to a large degree, you guys are in this together.
Yeah, we're super stoked. So, and ironically, she is a CPA.
congratulations.
I am not, but she is
She
a CPA.
is?
Yeah.
Oh wow! Does
So
she
I'm
work for you?
fiance of a CPA, not a son or a daughter, but
But if
That's the
you
title.
have a boy, even if she relinquishes her CPA, my dad doesn't have a CPA currently, but he was. So your boy, your son or daughter will be the son or a daughter of a
whether
CPA.
active or inactive, as long as it was there,
Doesn't
right?
matter. Yeah, as long as it's the thought that counts.
Yeah.
So, Chris, tell us about your background, how you ended up.
Yeah, sorry
Business,
to
marrying his
digress
business.
us there. But,
No apologies necessary.
yeah, so I come from a pretty a finance background, like in finance advisory background. So after undergrad, so I studied math and econ in undergrad, and then I did investment banking for 2 years in New York on the East Coast, where I'm from. I grew up in DC, and then I got a job in California working at an investment firm in real estate private equity in 2015. So I moved out to California then, haven't looked back in terms of where I live, been in the Bay Area since. And so I did that for 3 years, really enjoyed, honestly, my time there working in investing and finance. But my last couple months before going back to business school, I worked inside of a business we had recently acquired, and I was helping them do investor and lender reporting for the first time and sort of helping professionalize the FP&A function. And that got me excited about working inside of a business, not just investing and sitting on boards. And I went to business school and discovered what's becoming a relatively popular path coming out of grad school, which is called a search fund. And it's basically, hey, there's a ton of small business owners out there, the baby boomer generation, that have built really solid businesses that they want to sell and don't have a son or daughter to hand it off to, or a GM, pun intended there. So basically go out and look for one of these business owners who wants to sell their business, but maybe doesn't want to sell it to an investment firm or to a bigger competitor. And so I went out and looked for a business to acquire. I had a couple of mentors and advisors who also, helped me acquire the business from a money perspective, and now sort of operate as my board of directors. yeah, and I spent a year looking for a business to acquire, spent some time looking at cloud accounting as an industry, got really excited about the industry. And so I started emailing business owners and ultimately emailed Jeremy Allen, who was the owner and founder of System 6. We built a relationship. He was thinking about selling, and we kind of sort of just slow played things. And then eventually he got more excited about selling. I got more excited about acquiring System 6, and we took it from there and acquired the business in July of 2021.
That's interesting. So the courtship ended in you guys not really seeing each other after all the courtship, but it made for a good marriage and you marrying the business, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, it was like when we first met, there was definitely a connection, but that's just funny. This is really turning into a relationship conversation. How do I steer
it doesn't
this back?
matter. Yeah. In the context of it, I can shift it around too.
No. But like
going,
when Jeremy and I first connected, it was like, oh, he's got a really interesting business. I was candidly at the time looking for maybe bigger businesses. So we just sort of stayed in touch. And then, like I said, he got more interested in selling, and I was kind of came back to cloud accounting because I thought it was a really good industry. And we were, he still owns a portion of the business and is there to be an advisor, mentor to me, but yeah, he's out of the day-to-day, which I think is important in the transition.
The being in it or not, does he have a vested interest? Or does he still is his thought process? Because I would think if I wanted to sell something, I would want to be as far away from it as I could, but maybe that wasn't the case. Maybe he does still want to see his baby continue to grow up.
Yeah, I think it's two-sided. I think in this case, definitely he likes still sort of knowing what's going on. He and I catch up generally at least once a month. He, part of the reason he didn't sell to a regional accounting firm and other people that were looking at him that maybe could have moved faster, or paid a little bit more, was the idea of knowing that his team was going to kind of get to continue in many of the same roles that they were in before, and there wasn't going to be a huge change. So I think he's enjoyed just following along. And then from the buyer perspective, you want to have some financial incentive. So like we have a seller note, and that makes me feel good about, you want to have some financial instrument there so that the seller doesn't go do something evil after the fact that could harm the business. Because as the new guy coming in, you're certainly taking on some risk, and you want to make sure the seller's aligned.
So if you don't mind me asking, what was the revenue when you bought it, and what'd you buy it for? What was the valuation?
Yeah, so we bought it. It was effectively like $2.5-ish million of revenue and about $1 million of cash flow. So I looked at it.
He cash flow to owner on a $2.5 million was $1 million.
Yeah, so he was doing about a 40%.
Crazy.
40% cash flow margins.
Bananas.
I'll take
and part of that was like, that's not what I expected to be going forward. And part of that was someone in the business that the true cash flow to him was a little bit lower, but there was someone in the business who had left a couple months before I acquired it. And so like I added that back because I was knowing, that was going to sort of become my salary to some extent. I think about it more as like probably a mid-30s EBITDA margin business going forward, because there's also some hiring I want to do sort of at the management level to help us continue to support growth. But yeah, so I effectively was paying 2 and change on revenue and 6 times on an EBITDA cash flow multiple. I'm trying to run and grow and scale this business for 10 or 15 years. So to me, I was pretty comfortable getting in the game and taking it from there.
Well, you found the unicorn. You found the one, because it's very, very rare that accounting firms or professional services, I mean, not very, very rare, but I can only think of 2 instances since I've been doing it that I know of that have sold for 2 times. And
or maybe I way overpaid.
I don't know.
But you don't hear of businesses with that much cash flow typically.
It's the margins. Like everything seems to be the perfect fit, because either you see a business that's fully cloud, but the owner's still in it. I mean, there's just always something where the 4 metrics that tend to matter that we talk about on this podcast is cash to owner, top line revenue, head count, and time off for owner, right? Owner's freedom. And owner's freedom, I mean, it sounded like he had that. So those 2 things are usually the elusive ones. The ones that cash to owner and owner's freedom are the 2 that you don't, I guess, yeah, that's what made it so desirable. Like I tried to look a little bit deeper into what would it take to be able to sell something for 2 times. It's a lot of luck too. and then also being a good fit for his business. Maybe he could have backed out if he thought you were going to gut it and trash it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think 2x is like where strong cloud accounting revenue streams should be. Like, people anchor to 1x because they think about tax and all that stuff. But I think that, like, if you pulled out in bigger firms that have cloud accounting practices, I bet some of them run at high margins, just that cloud accounting practice. So it's about isolating just that revenue stream. And I think that's worth more than some of the more project-based, traditional CPA revenue streams you see.
Well, the industry's changing.
Yeah.
And it's moving forward. And I think the newer is obviously more desirable than the same old. We know what we're getting. We know how firms have run in the past. But part of this podcast is that we're trying to be like leading edge. We're trying to see what's the best ways of doing things and what is the most modern and the most effective, right? You're coming in at a really good time, I think, for somebody that's energized and wants to, because things are starting to all come together now too. We had a very disjointed life in the run up to like 2015, where there were apps that just weren't in the cloud, that wouldn't work together. They don't communicate. There's so many advantages you have now as an owner of an accounting firm that we didn't have before. So you're appreciate what you got, homie.
Yeah. I mean, I really feel like the revenue side, like for all of us, is all you want. Like there's so many people who have outdated bookkeeping experiences, or just the owners are still doing the work. And there's so many customers out there that need the services we're providing. It's just about, how can you hire and retain and motivate and train and get the service side of the business right. But
and
yeah, I do feel like
buying a business that was pricing things right. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like that he had the right pricing model for you to step into.
Yeah,
And marketing.
we're fixed fee, and being willing to recognize that some customers won't sign with you because we are higher priced than, I think, maybe not like in the ecosystem we all operate of like modern cloud accounting, but when a business owner is like Googling accounting or bookkeeping services, they see someone who's charging $50 an hour, and like we're way more than that. And so we sometimes lose customers, prospects, to that sort of old school $50 an hour model. We think we deliver a lot better quality than that. But yeah, like being okay losing that prospect, I think definitely contributes to the margins we have, because it's willing to charge a healthy price.
Yeah.
So what services do you guys deliver, and then what does the structure look like of your team?
So we start with just like core bookkeeping. So we're in your books on a weekly basis. We're trying to be high touch and not just after the fact monthly closes. We run payroll for about 2/3 of our clients. So we're like processing over 1,000 jobs on Gusto plus other services. We do bill pay for probably about 2/3 of our clients. We do some invoicing. We do a couple of like controllership light engagements, but the core is definitely bookkeeping, bill pay, and payroll. Finance operations is what we're trying to take off the plate of an owner. And that's kind of everything that would be frontline finance operations.
We've been having so many operations issues lately. I mean, in terms of our clients are having operations issues. We're just seeing that everyone's now online ever since COVID, and they don't have someone at the office to help them. And so they're relying on us to send out the invoices. They're relying on us to set up their workflow. They're relying on us to set up all the technology integrations. And we just keep getting deeper and deeper and more embedded into the client's business. And we're like, this is an operational issue. You need an operations person. And we're seeing that there's like a lot of opportunity there. I think if you have the right people on your team that can come in and build out a really seamless system, and then give it to the rest of the team that can just do the ongoing bookkeeping, bill pay support. But you have to have someone that's systems minded. And that's really what business owners need right now.
Yeah. And what are the right tech, like people are asking us, what are the right tech tools to use, which is nice because
No
then
pun
it can
intended. Systems needed.
Yeah, exactly. 6 systems actually.
6 of them.
Yeah, I'm
What are
curious
the
of the
6
origin
systems?
of what's the origin of that name?
Oh, you're gonna put me on the spot here. That's like it's a legacy name part of ours that I dug up a few months ago. There's like a document from 2014 or 2015 that has what our 6 systems are, but we don't really talk about it anymore internally. we talk about mission and we talk about core values. So we've kind of moved on to more of the EOS mindset. But yeah, there were, originally sort of 6 systems that the business wanted to stand by.
Now you guys have pods. Well, you've always had pods.
Yeah. So structure, sorry. I didn't answer the second half of your question. The way that we operate is, right now we have 3 pods. So we have 3 team leads. Team leads manage 5 to 7 people on their pod. And that pod is basically fully responsible for all the clients inside of that pod. So we don't have a bookkeeping pod, a payroll pod, a bill pay pod, like I know some firms have. We have a pod that has a team lead, several client leads. The client leads are the client-facing people. Sometimes team leads still have some of their own clients, but over time, we're trying to get them just to be people managers. But we have client leads who are forward-facing, interacting with clients, and then we have bookkeepers beneath client leads that are helping with, reconciliations, bill processing, et cetera. But the responsibility sits with the client lead at the end of the day.
And is the client lead mostly just reviewing everything?
It's a mix. Over time, it would be most efficient to have client leads, just reviewing, right? So they can have more clients on their plate. But we today definitely have some clients where the client lead may be doing everything. Maybe it's a really small, simple client, so they can just keep doing it all themselves. And then we have bigger clients where there's 2, if not 3 people working on the account.
Yeah, we're trying to figure that out too. We have a similar business model, but you guys have dedicated teams that all work together, whereas we may have people that work with different people in the organization. But the point of contact, which sounds like your team lead, we call POC, sometimes the bookkeeper might be better at communication with the client. So it's figuring out of like, should the POC or the team lead be the one communicating with the client, or should the bookkeeper, is it based on level or is it based on personality?
Yeah, I think that over time, we end up having the bookkeeper and the client lead will be on the emails together, and the bookkeeper can respond and the bookkeeper can originate things. We like to, when clients start working with us, we say, hey, this is your point of contact. This is your client lead. You may interact with more people over time. So yeah, I think you're right. Over time, it can be a little less regimented, a little more natural.
So any plans to build out any different services, taxes, HR, CFO services?
We dabbled in controllership, CFO, which I think has some pros and cons. But I think for now, not a ton of plans, just because there's so much opportunity in the core services. When we're in a market where there's literally millions of potential customers, stay focused on what our core is, which is ongoing work of bookkeeping, payroll, bill pay.
Product.
Yeah. And
thank you. Oh God, I got to go back and focus on my core too. I got so distracted the past few years that all these apps tell you the things you can make money on and things you should be doing at your firm, and going into CFO services, and fuck, man, to go back to what you do best. The world is big. There's plenty of clients out there.
Yeah. And I think down the line, of course, if you have a much bigger business than we all are, there's ways to cross sell, or maybe you buy a tax practice down the line. But we're a 25-person firm. To just go spin up tax would be a huge shift, but just doesn't seem like the best use of time when there's so much opportunity in front of us.
So these are some pretty healthy metrics, if I say so myself. You got what, 3 point what in revenue?
We're about 3. So I bought the business. It was about 2.5 million run rate, and now we did 2021 was 285. So we're kind of at 3 million run rate today.
Wow. So 25 or 3 million, 25, about 1 million, give or take. We know that there's things that you can't say on here as far as percentage wise. And how do you feel your freedom is? Do you feel tied down by this? Are you doing what you like? Are you living your best life, Chris?
Good question.
I think that I'm you have to put it through the vein of also I'm 6 months in or 7 months in now, so trying to earn respect, earn trust, learn the business, learn a lot of nuances that you don't understand from the outside. So there are definitely things that I'm dealing with on a daily basis that need to get taken care of that day. But it all falls in the operations, people side of the business, sales. I'm the salesperson. That takes a big chunk of my time. I feel very free in that I'm not doing any of the frontline accounting service delivery work. So being out of client work means I'm able to work on the business in a lot of ways. I'm trying to, help us be in a position to grow. And so it feels like a lot of that stuff is urgent. And yeah, I'm not like sitting on the beach on a Tuesday afternoon, but I also like wouldn't want to be right now. Like I'm pretty excited about the team we have and the team we're going to continue to build. So I want to be working hard. Like that's
that shit gets old being at the beach. It's boring if you just do it every day, unless you got something else to excite you about that. It's just like, I'm not retired
it gives
yet.
me anxiety being not working. I get anxious if I don't work.
Anything. Yeah. Well, you got to have balance too, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. You got to have some kind of balance. I'm either all in or all out.
Yeah. I did this whole path of like wanting to acquire a business because I wanted to lead and grow and manage and sell and do everything that you do when you're a small business owner. I'm happy to be spending time wearing 10 different hats every day because that's like what I wanted.
What was the most surprising thing to you?
I think the most surprising thing was I didn't realize how a lot of our team works 30, 35 hours a week. And I sort of took the mindset of like, oh, they'll want more than that. Like, we're going to come in, I'm going to spend a little more energy selling and the team's going to want to scale into that. And I think what I realized is like our core value prop is really two things. It's providing awesome service to our clients, but it's also providing dream accounting role for our team members. And for a lot of them, it's not 40 hours a week or, if they're at 25, maybe they don't want to go to 30. And I didn't really appreciate that from the outside. And some people from the outside would say like, oh, that's a culture shift you should try to push, which is like get people up to full time. I think the reality is like a lot of people in our industry aren't looking for that. They've been burned out at old school accounting firms, and offering sort of the flexibility and the hours that you want in a joyful environment. Like that's for us, a differentiator. I think not necessarily in the like modern cloud accounting ecosystem that we are all in, but it's definitely a differentiator versus like the traditional CPA practice. And so I've found myself really shifted and just like lean in towards, hey, like whatever role you want, we're going to provide that for you. Because at the end of the day, our people are like the most important thing about our business. So let's provide them an awesome place to be. And if we need to hire more people to take on new clients because our existing team doesn't want more clients, like we'll just go, it's not easy, but we'll try to go hire new people.
People appreciate the hell out of that too. You're in a unique position to give them anything they desire. If they don't want to go into office, they don't have to, right? And if they want to, it's a buyer's market now for employees. So you really have to treat them right. And that's what you said. That was the secret sauce to System 6. I can go with the S's all day too. System 6, secret sauce.
Secret sauce, yeah. So I think, I just didn't appreciate, I think, how much that could be a positive thing. Because when people are excited about where they work, it makes it be a better place for everyone else. And so we have a balance. We have some people that want 40 hours, and that's awesome. We have some people that don't. And the reality is we can have both.
So there's a lot of intangible benefits to giving them that kind of freedom. And then I have heard other guests on this podcast where they allow the employee to dictate how much more they can make too. So if it's about money, they can work more to earn more. And everybody's got this base, but then if you want to take more clients on, you want to take on more capacity because you have that. Everybody finds their own balance. And like we were saying, I wanted to work more. I wanted to work as much as I could, but I wanted to get paid for it, So
yeah, and so we've got like a profit share model. It ranges like 10 to 15% additional comp for people. So it's not, you're not going to double your take home through profit share, but it is, hey, if you want to work more, obviously that's more hours, but also it means you're covering more client revenue and there's profit share that comes out of that. So that's definitely something that before I got here was put in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just such a better work-life balance for a lot of accountants. When I was in I guess I'm still in public accounting, but when I worked at a CPA firm, it was either you stay in public accounting and it was exciting because you got to work with all these different clients, but you had to work all these hours, or you went in-house somewhere and you were bored as hell, but you had a better work-life balance. So I feel like what we do now is a really good combination of both, where you get the excitement of working with a lot of different business owners, but you can also, because it's recurring work and it's not this huge spike in different parts of the year, you can control the schedule a lot more and you can move people around on different clients. And because you have the pod structure, you always have people that are familiar with the client. So when you have to shuffle people around, it's easier than if one person just knows the one client.
I just released our episode on pods today. I would have been able to have Chris as a bonus, but I heard you talking about pods all day today already.
Pods.
Yeah, I mean,
I was just editing it, yeah.
that's definitely the intent. Like, it's never perfect. January's very busy for us, and like it still is a crappy month for our team because they have to work a lot more, and it's stressful because there's deadlines. So we do little fun things throughout the month to try and make it a little more enjoyable. But yeah, I think it's definitely a more balanced environment. And like you said, in today's day and age with employees having a lot of options, you have to provide that type of environment if you're in a people service business.
Yeah.
Yeah, January's rough.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's rough in tax time for anybody in this business because everything is so condensed, and like
I've been battling with tax accountants I don't know if you saw my LinkedIn post recently.
I did, yeah.
But I'm just like so tired of tax accountants asking me for cash basis reports. It's like, no,
Why?
we do our books on accrual basis. We tie out retained earnings. We want our Schedule L to tie, like we have a whole process where we try to make it as easy as possible for the tax accountant and have everything tie out, have retained earnings tie out, Schedule L on the tax return ties out. So I have my team trained on how to do that. And then the tax accountant's like, hey, I need this on cash basis. Well, in Zero, if you don't check that little box to have it show up on cash basis, it like the report's not accurate, and then retained earnings doesn't roll forward. But anyway, it's
So are you making the argument that they need to switch to accrual?
No, they can still file their tax return on tax basis. They just need to make M1 adjustments.
Yeah.
And convert it to cash.
They need to do the work, not you.
They
need to do the work because we have a very nice process. This year, like we went in and booked all the AJEs, all the tax AJEs for the team. Me and Ashley did, and tied out Schedule L, and that made a huge difference in January because the team didn't have to go and try to figure out what the journal entries meant that the tax returns, or the tax preparer gave them. Because sometimes they'll give you AJEs to accounts payable and accounts receivable. I'm like, what is this? And I see it on Facebook forums all the time too. Bookkeepers are on there. It's like, the CPA told me to make an AJE to AP. How do I do this? So.
Oh, yikes.
We know they're coming, right? Because it's now, for us, it's in the hands of the CPAs, and I'm sure there's going to be some AGs we'll be handling.
Yeah. And then Chris, like also getting all of the tax returns, just collecting all the tax. I mean, you guys have way more clients than we have. For us, it's just a huge project of just being like, we have a whole running Google sheet of the email address and the contact of the tax accountant for the client, and then we go get the
Yep, like here's your share file link. Please don't email it to us. We still have people who email it to us, which is not obviously how it should be shared.
Yeah, and that's a whole project in itself. It's like getting all of those, booking all the AJEs, and I guess you could have the POs or the point of contact or team lead do it, but I don't know what your guys' process is.
Yeah, that would come out of the client lead, but it's still, they have 15, 20, 25 clients now. They need to go track down those tax returns, over the next couple of months. And would you rather have a tax team or have to train it or go chase it down? Like, I'd rather stay focused. And this is a little incremental extra work, we have to deal with, but it's better than building out tax internally.
Yeah. And you know what? I can appreciate the hell out of the fact that we do all of it under one roof because we don't have to deal with another professional. And God, that gives me anxiety. I hate dealing with other professionals. No, there's
definitely reasons to do what you do, Scott, which is do it all in-house. Like, there's pros and cons.
We're the Apple of accounting.
Well, then but then the client in the middle of it, if you have a CPA that's pushing back, or not a CPA, or usually it's an EA that doesn't want to do the M1s, and then they don't know who's correct, so they're like in the middle of it. And then they got to pay somebody, and both ends got fighting their egos and fighting their it becomes a pissing match sometimes too. And it's just like, fuck, I don't want to do this, and I'm not going to charge the client. Well, then I'll do it, and I'll charge the client, or who's going to pay for this? Like, we're on a fixed fee. Don't have us do it. You're charging hourly. You do it. We did have a tax accountant once that asked us for the trial balance in a PDF. Didn't want it in Excel.
Ooh.
What? Okay. Manual.
I believe it. Speaking of, I need to look at Tally 4. That's a whole nother conversation, but shout out to.
See, I want to find someone that uses Tally 4, a tax accountant. If there's any tax accountants out there that want to just be my go-to tax team that uses Tally 4 and does M1 adjustments, I will send you all of my tax referrals and nice clean books with backup for all the fixed asset additions.
I know Michael Lee will take that. Anytime you
Michael Lee
ask
will
that,
take
he'll take anything, dude. I had the worst type of client, they were going to pay a lot, so he took it. He eats that up.
If you have a
all
shitty
about
client
revenue
you want to
growth.
get rid of, if you
Michael
have
Lee
a
will take
prospect
it.
you don't want, Michael Lee will take it.
As long as their money is green.
I'm going to take Michael Lee's employees when they all quit because of all the shitty clients.
Oh, good. All right, so let's get back to Chris. This is not about Michael Lee. Shout out to Michael.
It's always about
I'm giving a lot of shout outs today. So you guys are a carbon firm.
Yep.
Ooh, I'm going to be on Stu's podcast tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Carbon accounting leaders. I don't consider myself an accounting leader, but hey,
I think if you're on the podcast, you are.
So you guys are a carbon-based firm.
Yep.
I guess I don't have a question really. Nikole, you got a question?
Should I switch to carbon? Because I feel like I made a huge mistake several years ago, and we use HubSpot. We use help at momentumaccounting.com. We use HubSpot, but then we also have a project management system that we halfway use. And
Here's the question: Is carbon
I wish I would
worth
have used
the money?
carbon. Do you know how much
Everybody who
HubSpot
doesn't-
costs?
HubSpot's expensive too, yeah.
$4,000 for 1 quarter.
Oh shit!
When we have
What
7
subscription
people.
are you on? Are you on?
It's
you're
because
not
we have
just on
so
the sales one, right?
Well, it's because we have so many
Seats.
contacts, and we have all 3 modules, and then we have
Oh, okay.
all of our clients. We connect their inboxes if they have accounting at their domain, and then all their contacts come in, and then it's just like getting out of hand. And I don't want to think about it.
I mean,
that's a difficult position to be in.
I know we've been on carbon for a long time and sort of power users out of the gate, and I think helped with some of the product stuff, in the early years. So for us, I think it's just so core that we would never really look at anything else. I do think that we're going through it now a little bit, as you're reallocating clients sometimes inside of team for various reasons. Like, if people use it well, it's pretty powerful where, I can open up a client and just see all the different items that we have, all the different works that we have saved, where things are in process, all the emails are visible. So I think the collaboration capability, and it's like when I'm talking about how we are a team-based service model with prospects, carbon is something I talk about. I show them sort of a dummy list of, hey, this is what it looks like when we get you onboarded. We have all the tasks for you. Everyone can see it. There's automatic reminders that go to you for when we need things from you. I haven't looked into the weeds of like carbon versus some of the other tools out there, but I think having something like it is pretty critical.
So Nikole, we should do an intervention and get you on to carbon.
I know.
And then you win a contest. We'll do a contest for our listeners, and you could be the listener that wins, and then we can do a conversion, carbon conversion, and we'll document it.
Okay, so
on
here's
the
my
podcast.
only open question. I think that carbon couldn't do. We'd have to change everything, right? Okay, so we also manage our clients' inboxes. Does carbon allow you to add an inbox and manage it as a team? Like if we wanted to manage ABC client accounting at abcclient.com, like we're their AP and A department.
This is a Chris episode. We can, yes, there's ability to do something like that. We do that. So with our aliases on Google, we have it go to multiple accounts. So when somebody emails accounting at Paget NC, it pushes to different inboxes, or sales at Paget NC, and it shows up in different triages. So
that's what we have. We have effectively like lists that we build inside. We're on Outlook, but we have. You're
on Outlook, but you use triage, or do you go into the triage?
Yeah, I know. We're Outlook 365, but everybody lives in triage. Outlook
they
is
live
just
in
the
triage, though, right? Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Outlook
So
is just the
like
backend
Google.
email.
Yeah, okay. You mean Microsoft? Yeah.
Yeah, but sorry. Yeah, we have
Microsoft Outlook, like the platform.
No, not the like program, not the email program. Yeah. So we have distribution lists that like I set up in, admin for Microsoft 365, and then when someone emails, client at system6.com, it shows up in 2 or 3 people's triage. So yeah, you can do that. We've got tons of.
So are you guys on
those
PCs
situations
as well, or do you have Macs?
We're PCs.
That's a good question.
Dells.
Not too many firms. Yeah, Dells. Okay, because not too many
most part.
firms are like me and that are on all Macs, but I feel like that's a security feature for us, at least when we were in an office too. We got hit with a ransomware, and because nobody was using a PC, the only machines that got hit were the PCs. The Macs were safe. So because we didn't have anything on there, it didn't matter. Like I just trashed the machines. But if we were on a server, every one of them would have got hit, because that's basically what happened. So it was interesting. Because the way the network is set up and because the way Macs are, I'm not going to say they're impenetrable, but
yeah, I mean, we have like LastPass and do a bunch of training with KnowBe4 where people are getting fake phishing attempts throughout. But I think, I mean, everybody's somewhat exposed at some level. And that's probably like, a big concern for all of us is like at the end of the day, we still have a lot of pretty confidential client information, and you have to make sure that at the end of the day, you just have to have a lot of trust in your team.
So let's talk a little bit more about security, right?
Yeah.
Do we all focus on security? I have cyber insurance, I think. Do you guys have cyber
I've got
insurance?
cyber insurance.
Nikole?
Believe so. Yes. Yes, I do.
Believe so. How about, so we use password managers. Nikole, do you use a password manager?
LastPass.
Okay.
I just worry about the links because like I said, we've managed some of our clients' inboxes, and some of these have been like legacy emails that have been around for a while. So sometimes we'll get suspicious emails in HubSpot and our whole team can see it. So the odds of somebody clicking that link, that's the one thing that worries me. But
yeah, so there's a lot. I mean, there's something else that I feel like firms should do. There's products that do like Rewind and other ones that basically do backups of platforms. Like, is that something we should be concerned about?
well, that's more if somebody makes a mistake or something.
It's also because they said that that's susceptible to a breach or loss of data. I mean, I feel like if Amazon went down, we'd all be fucked.
That's what I worry about. When AWS is down and Zero doesn't work and nothing works, I'm like, this could be the end of our business. We'd all have to switch over to QBO.
I think the reality is like AWS goes down, it takes out 30% of the economy.
Of the economy.
Right. I think that's the biggest risk we have.
And I think one that's like
that and the cable in the ocean. Have you guys heard about the cable in the ocean?
Yeah, I feel like I've seen stuff on Twitter about this. Like how so much of the U.S. is connected. How the world is connected by cables buried at the bottom of oceans. And if someone just chopped that up, there'd be a lot of loss of connectivity for a while.
Connection data. Like,
and
I always
satellites?
thought it was just, I know, but you got to think about it. Like, how are we connected to the whole world? Is it satellites or is it cables?
Right. You start thinking about that. Like the three of us aren't going to solve that, right? Like AWS
we're not
going to
solve any of it.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to have a problem, and I feel like you can't worry.
It interests me though. It interests me. I welcome a scenario like that because then we're all in the same boat together. I think the chaos part of it is like either like I thrive in chaos. It's not that I seek it out, but whenever there is chaos, I tend to but I tend to be more relaxed. I don't get stressed. I stress when there's peace. I feel like I should always be doing more. This is not about me, but this is more or less like if that did happen, Chris, I think you got the right mindset because it's like, all right, we're not going to solve that problem. It's there. What are we going to do next? And that's why I want to think of solving the next problem.
Well, I think we came out ahead during COVID because some of us were already virtual. But imagine if that happened, then all the people that were paper-based are going to be the ones coming out ahead.
Yes, they would.
And all the work.
They would.
All the work.
That's so funny. Yeah.
They're going to be like, I told you so.
What is Bill.com? I don't know what Bill.com runs on, but it's either
it's
Google,
AWS.
AWS or Azure. What does Gusto run on? We're mainly QBO. What does Fathom run on? We use Fathom for a lot of our client reporting. So I think that's the problem that I'm just not going to worry about because.
Yep. It's like it's not a concern, but that's kind of what I always feel like too. Like if somebody's trying to tell me you need to back this up or you need to save this and do this, I'm like, dude, everybody's fucked. If Zero lost all their data, we're all screwed. Not just Zero, but anybody. Like it's I get backing up your QuickBooks file on a desktop computer. Do you guys have anything on desktop still, Chris?
Mm-hmm. We do a decent amount of probably one or two a month of QuickBooks Desktop to QBO conversions as part of onboarding. So we definitely have clients who come to us with QBD, but we won't support it long term.
And you're a QuickBooks firm,
pretty much. Yeah, we have a couple of Zero clients, but for the 95+% is QBO.
Yeah, that's the whole market. Me and Nikole are like in the other end of that percentage. Like, you
guys? If someone comes to you with QBO, will you push them to Zero? say we're only going to serve you if you convert to zero?
I used to do that, but not anymore. Now it depends. If QuickBooks set up, they're using the payment processor, they got apps integrated, we're not going to mess with it. But if it's the books are a mess anyway and we want to redesign the chart of accounts and set up invoicing for them or set some other system up, we'll just tell them that they're going to move to zero.
Yeah. That's kind of like us. I mean, we used to have that authority because people would find us through Zero Directory. So that they were seeking zero out. Nowadays, people are finding us everywhere, the Gusto or Google, and they're already on QuickBooks and it works, and it's not something that we need to fix. So we're not going to charge them to switch it over, and I don't want to do the extra work. So we've basically just been more or less hybrid approach just recently, though. It's not always been like that.
Yeah, it does suck to have different processes for, especially at the year end when we're doing 1099s and all that.
Yeah,
we're stuck. We picked zero, and if it was like if we were already working on with all QuickBooks. See, the QuickBooks was not good when we started out. Like when we were working with, I didn't have time to put up with it. It was terrible. So that's why we moved everything to zero. Now they're pretty much green and blue. I've said that before on this podcast.
Just two different
the context
colors.
Shifting.
Yeah. I think we definitely like. If when we see applicants that we're hiring for, we see someone with zero experience, that's great. And we would love to bring them on board because we just don't have a ton of zero experience on our team. And we haven't like taken the time to try and train the existing team on zero. We have some experience for sure. So, we have a couple of people that can manage it. At the end of the day, if like we're trying to just serve our clients as best we can, it would be good to be able to know both systems really well because zero is going to be better for some people.
Mm-hmm. So you're looking out for the best interest of the client. And we can always say, this is our tool. This is what we're going to use.
But if you're way better at one tool, isn't it better? It's probably ultimately better for the client to be on that tool because you can be more efficient. You can, candidly maybe charge the client less because it doesn't take you as much time as it would for you to be on a different system.
So house cleaners, right? They might, this is a true, like they could either use the tools in the house, like the vacuum, the detergent, what I don't know what else they need, like the mops, like all of that stuff you can use at the house, and then maybe it's a different fee. And I've seen this too, where some people work alongside the cleaner to get it done quicker too. So that's kind of like if a client's doing a little bit of their bookkeeping or reconciling alongside. And I don't know if that's the best example.
That scares us.
It does. It does. But some cleaners say that too. Like we're gonna clean your house. We're gonna take care of everything. We don't want to use your tools. We're using ours. So it's basically just these appeal of the customer and the client and their perspective, whatever they prefer. If they just take it on, like you deal with some that just say, take all of my stuff. I don't care what you do with it or how you do it. I trust you. Go for it. Versus, I really don't know why I want to stay on QuickBooks, but I do. Like I'm sure you dealt with that, Nikole. Like they're just unrealistic.
The pushback we get is, well, if it doesn't work out with you, then I have to go find somebody else on zero. And I don't know, I've never heard of this software before. So it's going to be harder for me to find. And I'm like, well, a lot of people on zero are a little bit more progressive, I would say, and like at least our community, because they're newer firms and people are more willing to adapt new technology versus QuickBooks. You could get a firm like that, or you could get someone that, it's like everyone, there's this huge sea of people that use QuickBooks. So your odds are not that, but you don't know what you're going to get.
Somebody that's afraid to commit. Like
it's a red flag.
Yeah, it's a red flag. Like if a client says, well, if it doesn't work out with you, well, then you got to look at it. Wait, it didn't work out with their last 3 accountants. What makes us think that we're any special? Like that's kind of what I was trying to say. And it usually happens with these clients that are just a fucking mess, and they tell you how bad their last accountant was, and then they leave you and they're telling the next accountant the same shit, the same story. I don't know if that's how we want to end this, but that could be a commitment fear. So hopefully your fiance is not divorced and coming off of another marriage.
Yep, no commitment fear in our relationship, that's for sure.
Yeah, you got to look at their past relationships to see if it was a failure or not. And the person that switches from person to person.
If her dating history had been a bunch of 3-month relationships, maybe we wouldn't have gotten off the ground. But
scared of commitment, clients and people alike.
Yep.
Clients are people, I guess.
It is. It is interesting
people.
though. Like, I mean, when we're going through a discovery process with a client, like if someone's super slow to respond during discovery, like they're probably going to be really slow to respond as well as a client. And that's like not a good client for us to work with. So sometimes we see like those things come up in the sales process, and yeah, we'll still send them a proposal, but maybe we won't follow up as aggressively because they've just shown a few things that indicate that like, hey, they're probably not going to be the best long-term client.
Yep, the red flags are always there, and then you sign them on, and you're like, dang it.
Yeah.
I should have listened to myself. I knew it.
Yeah, and right, there's so many clients out there, so like that's the beauty.
Yeah,
of
I feel like I get
industry we're in.
attached. You know, you get attached to them during the sales process,
Oh yeah, like,
and then there's
you're
another
competitive-
one, and you're like, shh.
Yeah, we're competitive people, right? Like
Yeah,
I hate
yeah.
to lose, I hate to lose a client, but sometimes it's for the best.
All right. So, Chris, for any accounting firm owners out there, what's one piece of advice that you can depart? What is something you've learned in this process of our world of 8 months?
For like an accounting firm owner who's thinking about selling, or just in general?
No, just there you go. Yeah. So you've been at this for 8 months, right? And you
Yep.
just bought a firm.
Yep.
So for a firm that is thinking about selling, what is something they could do to make it easier on the buyer?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing, honestly, is previewing with the team ahead of time. Like I had the chance to meet most of our team before the deal closed, so that eliminated a lot of the like disruptive, oh, hey, I just sold the business, here's the new owner dynamic. And I know like our owner had been talking about selling internally for a period of time, so it just removed a lot of the shock factor. Whereas I think I have a lot of friends in just general business acquisitions, and like a lot of times you show up to the business and you say, hey, I'm the new owner, and they're like, somebody quits on the spot because they're like, I don't want to work for anyone else other than, XYZ person. So I think just, letting the team know that it's happening ahead of time and giving the new owner a chance to meet with the team ahead of time so that fears can be assuaged, because people are always like, who's this new person? So that was one of the most powerful things. And then I think also making sure you're out of day-to-day accounting work, because any new owner is going to want to come in and just spend time with the team, like learn the business, meet one-on-one with everyone, the first week. And like, if you have to jump in to client calls and stuff like that, it's a lot harder to take on that business. And it starts to feel like there's a lot more key man risk when the owner is in client delivery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
and one other thing I'm going to start asking is for reviews.
Oh, yeah. I
Can
still
you
haven't
leave a
written. I
review?
still
I'm going to
haven't
ask
written
our
my
guests now, not just the listeners too. Like, could you leave us a review? That
I
would
will
be
leave a review.
beautiful. We
I still leave
love
one.
reviews. Reviews keep the fuel on the fire burning. So if you've been listening for a little while and you have something nice to say, open up the Apple podcast after this is done playing and leave us a little review. Tell us who you like. Who's your favorite co-host? If you've been listening for a while. I'm going to ask you that now, Chris. Who's your favorite co-host?
I mean, it's got to be Nikole, because she's the one that introduced me to the whole community. She's the one that got me invited down to Catch Barbara in January. She's my neighbor, 20 minutes away. So I'm staying local, Team California.
Let's go.
I think Nicole's my favorite co-host too. Actually, I would say that about anybody but Ackerman. Shout out to Ackerman. This is probably where I'm going to play the music and end the podcast and say thank you to our guest. All right, guys. Thanks a lot.